appreciative that you have spent your Friday morning with us. We do appreciate it. My name is Dan Edwards from Riverway Media, and we are very proud to be media sponsors for Riverway Summit, and we have spent so much time to bring this wonderful day to you along with certain families. We're so excited that you're here to be a part of this today, so thank you.
Give yourself a round of applause for making it at 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning to come to our summit. Yes, a great way to finish our work week. Today, obviously I'm your MC, but first we want to thank our host and presenting sponsor, the City of Sydney, for opening their city to the 2023 Riverway Summit. Mayor Milligan, can we have a round of applause for her staff to bring this together today? It's beautiful theater. And we also want to thank, of course, our major signature sponsor, the City of Sydney, and also the supporting sponsors, Alta Fiber, Centerpoint Energy, and DLZ. Let's hear it for those folks. Help us bring this together today. Now, of course, your program that you have, please wave that in the air like you don't care. We want to make sure that you check out all those sponsors today and friends of today's summit. Can we have a round of applause for all of our supporting cast today? Thank you. And we are so happy to be together in the restored historic Sydney Theater. And now this theater is a great example of the significant historic, cultural, and artistic places that exemplify the Great Miami Riverway. But first, we would like to welcome Mayor Marty Milligan from the City of Sydney and Commissioner Tony Barnhorst from Shelby County to the stage right now to offer their words of welcome. So, Mayor Milligan, Mr. Barnhorst, come on up, please. A round of applause for our ambassadors of the city today and county. You're going first. You better lower this just a little. Yeah, it's up kind of high.
Up over the... Okay. Well, boy, the lights are bright up here. I forgot about that. Well, welcome to the City of Sydney and to the historic Sydney Theater. I'm Mayor Marty Milligan, and we are delighted to have been selected as the host city for the 2023 Great Miami Riverway Summit. Thank you all for being here. It's my pleasure to be here and an honor to welcome you all into this facility and into our community. The city's theme this year is planting the seeds of the future. And in order to plant seeds and have them grow, you must have water. I know that the City Manager Bowser, will be sharing with you later how we are planting the seeds of the future here in Sydney. Many generations have used the Great Miami River to plant and grow seeds for themselves and inspired others to follow in their footsteps. This has become a Sydney tradition, and today, those seeds have produced some pretty deep roots. Perhaps this is one reason why Sydney has more manufacturing jobs today per capita than any other Ohio municipality. We are thankful for those individuals and businesses who continue to call Sydney home, and we look forward to welcoming more. But we are all here today because we all know that the Great Miami Riverway is more than just a river. We are here because of the common bond of our proximity to the Great Miami River. Its history has shaped this region for millennia. Formed in the Pleistocene Ice Age some 10,000 years ago, its name is derived from the Native American Algonquin-speaking people who lived here at the time of the early European settlement. In the 19th century, it was a major source of water for the Miami and Erie Canal, which contributed to early industrial development of the entire region. And while during the Great Flood of 1913, when the waters of the Great Miami River raged as never before or since, spelled the ultimate doom for the canal, the river continued to be an important resource, primarily for industrial development. My father-in-law, born in 1928, and who grew up here in Sydney, referred to it as a work river. Companies and cities drew water from it for industrial processes and drinking water. and then discarded their wastes into it until the communities around it came to the realization that this resource needed to be cared for and preserved and could have a much greater purpose beyond utilitarian. So today we continue that movement to appreciate the river for its beauty and its wonder, to be enjoyed as a place by which to work, play, and live in harmony. An ancient proverb explains this in a good way. The mark of a successful man is one that has spent an entire day on the bank of a river without feeling guilty about it. And in the words of the great poet Garth Brooks, a dream is like a river, ever changing as it flows, and a dreamer's just a vessel that must follow where it goes. But the best quotes still come from the heart, and I am sure if that ancient proverb poet and Mr. Brooks were here today, they would find a way to check out our great Miami Riverway and indeed agree that the great Miami Riverway is more than just a river. Again, I welcome you to continue to envision what our great Riverway can become for all of our communities. I hope you enjoy the day. I'd like to thank and point out that we have our council members here today. Scott Roddy, Steve Wagner, wave your hands, Jenny Van Meter, Mike Barhorst, Joe Maniaci, who I think is on his way, and I think Steve Klingler was going to be on his way. I haven't seen him yet. I also would like to thank the city staff, Parks and Recreation, Dwayne Geyer, and our city street department for helping to put together this wonderful event. And most of all, I'd like to thank Ian Hintz and the Historic Sydney Theater and his wonderful staff for welcoming us here. I've got an entire list of people to thank, but I think you'll all agree that everybody that put this event together has done a great job. Thank you again and enjoy your day.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tony Bornhorst, one of the 3 commissioners here in Shelby County. And on behalf of my fellow commissioners, Julie Amon and Bob Giozzi, welcome. Glad you're here in Shelby County. I'm a little bit biased. I always tell everybody Shelby County's a great piece of the pie. And I really, truly believe that. And been so fortunate here to grow up on the west side of Fort Laramie, and where we currently live is about a mile from where Auglaize, Shelby, Darke, and Mercer County all connect. You make no assumptions on mailing addresses, school districts, area codes, and telephone numbers, which is even worse now with cell phones, because you can't find those numbers anywhere unless you know the person. So welcome. Shelby County is a very unique county as far as agriculture and manufacturing weld together and are very synergistic for each other. And as Marty had said, per capita, Shelby County is the #1 county in the state of Ohio for manufacturing jobs. Yet agriculture is our #1 economic dollar number, which, you know, when you think of all that manufacturing and high quality manufacturing, that's quite an accomplishment. So the Riverway and the Miami-Erie Canal, so important to my family. My great-great-grandfather came up the Miami-Erie Canal to the area there west of Fort Laramie in the 1840s, and was able to marry an Imholt daughter, so our farm started by marrying the farmer's daughter, which is always good. You see that in the movies all the time, so it does actually happen in that regard. And when I say it's a really great place to be for our family, my wife and I, we just got our 19th grandchild here in December. And the furthest away we have to drive is 20 minutes. They all live here in Shelby County, and it's awesome, and that's why I say it's a really, really good piece of the pie. Look forward to today's activities. Look forward to having Sydney connected to the Great Miami Riverway Recreational Trail. There's a group here that's been working on it for quite some time, and the finish line may not quite be in sight, but it's getting closer. And look forward to that day that we're connected from Sydney, Ohio, all the way to Hamilton, and all those counties and businesses, et cetera, and recreation that can happen along the Great Miami River. So enjoy your day. Thank you for being here, and we'll just make it a wonderful one, although I won't tell you how nice it is outside while you're inside here, but enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan and Commissioner Bornhorst. We are so happy and very appreciative of your very welcoming community, and so beautiful. I grew up in Logan County, not too far from here, and Sydney was always one of those places that me and the buddies would cruise. Do kids cruise anymore? I don't know. But this is always such a beautiful city, and just so happy to be here with you today to kind of celebrate our Great Miami Riverway as well as this beautiful city. Do you agree, ladies and gentlemen? Hey, I'd like to acknowledge our distinguished guests here today, our mayors and commissioners and councilmen, and probably too many. I'm always afraid I'm going to forget somebody, but could you please, those of you in a leadership role with our communities, could you please stand so we can give you acknowledgement and with a nice warm round of applause, please? We could not do this without your support. And the one thing, mention our company, Pivotal Media, we've spent since last August going around and filming some of the great functions and events that we have up and down the Great Miami Riverway. And of course, we talked to the mayors and the commissioners who you're going to be seeing up here on the big screen here shortly. But one common theme that we had was how much this river was bringing all of our leadership together. Because there always seems to be that little bit of friction between communities, but not now. The communities are realizing, you know what, we're better together, and this Great Miami Riverway is bringing us together, and it is the premier riverway in America, and I'm just really proud. We're just really proud to be a part of it. Yes, thank you. I'm glad you agree. You're awesome. All right, now I'd like to introduce the chairperson of the Great Miami Riverway Coalition. Now, the coalition
are the communities and organizations who partner to make the Riverway happen, kind of help set the goals and priorities and such, and act as the ambassadors. Christian
Mattingly is the chairperson of the coalition and also the director of Parks and Recreation for the City of West Carrollton. So please help me by welcoming Christian to the stage with your thunderous round of applause.
That was very thunderous, thank you. As Mr. Edwards said, I'm Christian Mattingly. I'm the chair of the coalition this year, and I'm also, my day job, a parks director for the City of West Carrollton. I know we've been thanking a lot of people, but I'd like to send a special shout out to Dwayne Geyer, the Sydney Parks Director, who's been awesome. He's also our previous chair, so round of applause for him and his staff, City of Sydney. Obviously, it takes a lot of people to put this together, so Amy Brynick from Sydney Alive, Shelley DeFranco with Five Rivers, Jeff Reibel with Sydney Visitors Bureau, and of course, Dan and Sarah, wherever you guys are hiding. We couldn't do this without you guys, so thank you very much for all of your help. So today the summit includes updates from the Miami Conservancy District, economic development panel discussion, insights from the Ohio Department of Development. We'll be honoring the 2023 Corridor Champion of the Year. We'll also be working with Dayton's River Institute on how to make our river corridor more equitable. As Mr. Edwards had mentioned, with more than 20 communities and sponsors, the Riverway Coalition's goal is to work together, support each other while making a riverway a fantastic place to live, work, and play. We formed this partnership more than 10 years ago because we knew that together we could achieve better results than any single group could achieve alone. As a reminder, the Riverway formed after Miami Conservancy District and Montgomery County Commissioners requested federal assistance for a study of the riverfront assets along the Great Miami River Corridor. That federal study told us that we have one of the best river corridors in the nation, which we all knew. And at the request of the communities along the river, the Miami Conservancy District agreed to lead and launch a new branded Great Miami Riverway in 2017. We renewed that commitment in June of last year when all 20 organizations of the coalition agreed to continue that partnership and fund this important collaboration, including our newest member, City of Trenton. Are you here? Can I get a hand raised up? Is Trenton here today? If not, let's give them a round of applause because we're welcoming them. So this collaboration wouldn't be successful without the support of Miami Conservancy District, of course, who also agreed to continue leading the partnership and managing the Riverway programs, initiatives, and activities. I'm proud to represent a group of communities that dedicate their time and efforts to improve connections to the river and to each other. We are the ambassadors of our riverfront corridor. So every other year, we work with economic analysts to study the impact of the Riverway on tourism. Results show that not only did we bounce back to pre-pandemic levels, we did better than the state overall. Total economic impact of just under $1 billion with a B. And Shelby County did better than pre-pandemic levels, 10% better, as a total of 33 overall increase, so Shelby County, nice job. This shows how resilient our Riverway partnership is and how positive an impact we have in our region, and this year has a lot more in store. I hope you enjoy the summit, take time to learn, get re-energized while we all reconfirm what we do together is important and making an impact. Thank you again to the City of Sydney for hosting this event, our northernmost anchor of the Riverway, and please don't forget there's several tours you can take this afternoon to see what else Sydney has to offer. Now I believe Mr. Edwards will be introducing our next guest, Mr. Dan Foley. Thank you very much, and enjoy.
Wow, it's great when you can start measuring success in the billions of dollars. That's amazing. All right, now, though, we'd like to introduce Dan Foley, who is the director of the Great Miami Riverway, has been since 2019. And Dan, if you'll please come forward, we'd like for you to kind of give us an update on Riverway successes and accomplishments and priorities. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Foley.
Well, good morning. Thank you all for taking time to be here on behalf of the Miami Conservancy District and the Great Miami Riverway and our coalition. You know, Dan mentioned that we had a lot of elected officials here. I just wrote, we have 5 mayors here of our Riverway communities, or 4 and then plus 1, but we've got obviously Mayor Milligan here from the City of Sydney. We've got Mayor Rabinoda from the City of Troy, Mayor Nicole Condry from the City of Middletown, Mayor Michelle Collins from the City of Miamisburg, and then Mayor Tracy Johnson from the Village of Lockington, which is close by. So please give them a round of applause for taking time to be with us today. So my job really is to do 2 things. It's really to kind of share some accomplishments that the Riverway has done over the last 12 months since we were at Caroline Park in Dayton. And then also I have a few things that I just would like to help focus our efforts on in the next couple years that I'm going to take the opportunity just to try to articulate. Today, and you heard Mayor Milligan talk about this, that we're more than just a river, but today as part of our summit agenda, we're unveiling our Great Miami Riverway poster series. If you look in your program, you'll see a couple examples of that. They're modeled after the Works Progress Administration art style of the 1930s and 40s. And at the top of every one of these posters that's been submitted by our Riverway Coalition partners is the phrase "more than just a river." And while the word "river" is in our title, and the river, which is Ohio's first, nationally designated water trail, is the main artery that connects our 11 cities, 2 counties, multiple park agencies, and other partners. The fact is, the Great Miami Riverway is more than just a river, and that's really what we're here to celebrate. It's about healthy people, thriving economies, which we're going to hear about throughout the whole agenda, and great places to live, work, and recreate. I think we're all here. We're here from different sectors, whether it's government, whether it's economic developers, whether it's people who are just enjoy the river. But we're all here because we believe that the Great Miami Riverway can improve the economy and the quality of life, not just for our own communities, but for all of Southwest Ohio. We also believe that we'll attract more investment along the river corridor and in our communities if we do that together. And it's the reason that for more than 15 years, we've been gathering in rooms like this up and down the river to work as one team. And we would not be here if it weren't for the hard work, collaboration, and leadership of our coalition members, many who are here. And that work began in 2008 when the University of Dayton hosted the first River Summit, which is why we're so glad that part of the agenda includes students from the University of Dayton to really kind of do an interactive session with us about how we can improve our river. So why are we more than just a river? Well, we're more than just a river because we continue to see the repurposing of anchor institutions, large and small, that dot the river from Sydney to Hamilton to the Ohio River. A couple years ago, we were in Hamilton. We got to hear about the Spooky Nook Sports Complex, which is the largest by square foot indoor sports facility in the country, and that's open now. In Miamisburg, the former Dayton Power and Light power plant is going to be repurposed into a 200-acre mixed-use development. And then right here in Sydney, the building that we're in, the historic Sydney Theater, Mayor Milligan talked about this, was first opened in 1921. It was called the Majestic Theater for full stage productions and silent films. It closed in 2004, but through a lot of work, as we all know this takes, and sweat equity, it was reopened in 2009 as a performing arts center under the nonprofit Raise the Roof for the Arts, and we should give Sydney a big round of applause for the work here, because we're benefiting. And as Commissioner Bornhorst stated, you know, we're more than just a river because we continue to make progress on closing the gaps in our regional trail system. 50 years ago, the Miami Conservancy District and the City of Troy built the first mile of trail. In 1973, that's when the first mile of trail went into this entire system. And now that has grown into the nation's largest system of connected paved trails. We're grateful for the work of all of our communities because we know this takes time, effort, and money. And you're going to hear about the fact that the Butler County Commissioners awarded Metro Parks of Butler County $2.5 million last year to connect the cities of Hamilton and Middletown on the Great Miami River Trail. And I know there's going to be a point when we're cutting a ribbon up here in Sydney to connect Sydney to the village of Lockington and then Lockington to the city of Piqua. We're going to work hard on that. But, you know, just if you looked at the connection between Middletown and Hamilton, that matters for both those communities, and it matters for all of us because of better connectivity. But it also matters for our city, our newest partner, the city of Trenton, because they can pull people off that trail. They're right smack dab on the west side of the river between Hamilton and Middletown, and they can pull people off that trail to have folks enjoy everything that the city of Trenton has to offer. We're also more than just a river because our elected officials and community leaders are investing in long-term riverfront development plans. And everybody here knows this is not easy. It takes time, it takes money. Sometimes you get criticism from constituents who say, you know what, I don't think that's the right thing to do. And so the fact that we are seeing long-term riverfront investment plans is significant. Jonathan Westendorf from the city of Franklin is here. Franklin is planning for new downtown infrastructure, including two-way streets, curbs, sidewalks, and a beautiful riverfront park space that will connect their downtown to the Great Miami River. West Carrollton is forming a river district with developers Jason Woodard, who you're going to hear on a panel here in a little bit, and Larry Dillon. They're teaming up with the city to redevelop a 25-acre riverfront site anchored by a new state-of-the-art whitewater feature, including $75 million in total investment on that site on the Great Miami River in the city of West Carrollton. And our friends, I saw Becky Osinski, our friends from Great Parks in Hamilton County are here. They just announced a brand new master planning effort, including new trail connections and better kayak and canoe access for paddlers on the southern end of the Great Miami River as it goes into the Ohio River. And then finally, we're more than just a river because we have over 2,500 manufacturing companies that dot the map. And today you're going to hear about that as part of the agenda. But really, it's not. I think it's important to say this. The better that we can make our communities, not only riverfronts, downtowns with housing, with restaurant, more bike path connectivity, the better likelihood we're going to be able to retain existing companies and also add new ones. And so this is very significant, the work that we're doing, and it's really about economic development. Two other thour I want to talk about. I just want to go down the list about some of the work that the Riverway has done with the money that with all our partners pay into this initiative. Last year we hosted the first Great Miami Riverway Half Marathon, which attracted about 200 people. That's going to run again, no pun intended, in September 10th of this year. It's going to start in Troy and end in Piqua. We relaunched the Great Float, and that we spent the afternoon with 140 paddlers who floated the river between West Carrollton and Miamisburg last July. We had a great time. We continue to promote our places and spaces and events with social media, and we're seeing good traction in terms of numbers, moving up in the right direction on all those metrics. 2022 marked our second Great Miami River Smallmouth Bass Fishing Challenge. This is important. The Great Miami River is the best river in the whole state. There are more trophy smallmouth bass caught in the Great Miami River, according to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, than any river in the state. And so every year we put on a great smallmouth bass challenge. We're going to do that starting in June. It goes to August. And then last year we formed a Riverway Events committee to help guide our annual events. In 2023, we're going to continue the Great Float, the Half Marathon, and the Fishing Challenge. And new this year and coming up on April 28th is the River Ride, and that's going to connect the cities of Franklin and Middletown on a new section of trail that those two communities worked hard a couple years ago to fill in. And so we're going to have food trucks on both ends of that event, and it's going to be a great time. And if you look at our webpage, you can sign up for that. So it was a great year, and we did a lot, with a lot of your help. I want to end my talk just on some things that I think it would do us well to focus on, not only this coming year, but in the years ahead. I think the first thing is that we need to continue to cultivate more investors, more developers around potential redevelopment projects in our downtowns and on the river. Pat Ford from Frontier Industrial, who's doing the Miamisburg coal plant site, and Jason Woodard, who's doing the Ohio building, which is right behind us here at the Sydney Theater. He's redeveloping that property. Are both going to be part of a panel here in a little bit. But those are two examples of companies who not only, I think, are interested in doing work in Sydney, but if it's the right project, they're interested in Franklin, they're interested in Hamilton, they're interested in Middletown, up and down the river. And so the better relationships we can form with those kind of investors, those developers, I think it's going to benefit every one of our communities. We've got a good story to tell about why doing business along the Riverway can be good for the company and good for our communities. The second thing we should focus on is that we need more camping sites. When the Army Corps report came out in 2014 that formed the Riverway, it said that we didn't have enough camping sites, and we still don't. And so that could be a mixture of public sites, it could be a mixture of private sites. There's this thing called Hip Camp, which is like the Airbnb of camping. You just get an app and you can camp in somebody's backyard. All of the above, but we need more camping sites because as we continue to fill gaps on the Great Miami River Trail, and frankly with the system we have already, we need people who are looking for places sometimes other than Airbnbs and hotels. The third thing is we need more and safer river access for paddlers. The fourth thing is I think we need more housing of all types. I hear this from every Riverway community, and frankly this isn't just a Riverway issue. This is probably an issue for every community in Ohio, but we need more housing of all types. We've got a couple members of the audience here who are housing developers, and we are trying our best to kind of connect them with city managers and cities to just look at how we can develop more housing up and down the Riverway. We need to continue to close the gaps and improve our paved trail system. We've come a long way in 50 years, but the question should be, what should our trail system look like 50 years from now? And we are pretty darn close to connecting Sydney all the way down to Cincinnati and back, where people could spend 5 or 6 days and ride 50 miles a day, always have a place to stay, always have a place to get a beer, to get a good meal. I think we do a good job of touting the trail system, but 50 years from now, we could look back and say, wow, we really doubled down on that, and we used that as an economic development tool for every one of our communities in Southwest Ohio. The last thing I would say is, and this is really something I would like to see, I think it would do us well to have cities that are next to each other, talking to each other once in a while about what their projects are in the river. And I know this happens. I don't want to say it doesn't. I know, for example, Mayor Condrey in Middletown gets together regularly with Mayor Moeller in Hamilton, and they just talk about their projects. But I think if cities who are right next to each other could say, hey, this is the project we're working on this year, it could not only allow the city next to them to help them with that development, but it could help them help each other and try to do economic development in kind of a two-way connection. So I think if we could have more ways for communities to kind of have those discussions, we'd all benefit. And finally, I just want to say it's a privilege to serve as the director of the Riverway. I think this is the best river corridor in the country, and it's only going to get better. Thank you so much for being here today. We're going to have a great day. Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mary Lynn Lodar, MCD General Manager, to the podium. Mary Lynn Lodar, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. I first want to also acknowledge that the City of Piqua Mayor Sydney Pearson is here as well, and so just wanted to offer that. And then I also should say that Karen Hesser, our new Director of Five Rivers Metro Parks, is here as well. So welcome everybody. This is very exciting. In 1915 is when the Miami Conservancy District was formed, and the purpose, can you hear me okay? Is this close enough? Okay. When we were formed in 1915, and the purpose of the Miami Conservancy District was to protect the five counties and the 11 communities, many of which are represented here today. And I think that the whole purpose of the Miami Conservancy District is really to support and sustain vibrant communities up and down the river. And so I would be remiss if that was not kind of, really on top of mind. It's always on top of mind for me, and I know it's always on top of mind for our staff at the Miami Conservancy District. 58 years later, after the Miami Conservancy District was formed, was the first mile of trail that was developed, again, on the backbone of the Miami Conservancy District flood protection system. And we're so fortunate to have this system because it is what allows for so many and all of the communities downstream of our 5 dams to be able to be a vibrant, healthy, sustainable community that does not have to worry about flooding from a river. And I'm so excited about that because of that, we can now and have been envisioning riverfront communities that can open its doors to the river and whatnot. And so I think it's really important that because of that foundation, and then again, since 2017, we've been able to embrace the initiative and have that housed as part of our River Corridor Improvement Subdistrict at the Miami Conservancy District. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm also, excited to be here at in Sydney at my first Riverway Summit, and I know it's not the first for many of you. And I want to kind of share a story because while this is my first Riverway Summit, I feel like I've been on a summit of a river for most of my life. As many of you all know the power of water. And I've lived, grew up on a farm in upstate New York and moved here in 1996. And but right out of college, I actually went to college in Troy, New York, and I laugh with Mayor Oda about that because she's like, oh, Troy, New York, I get calls from them all the time about their services, and they're complaining about services in Troy, New York, and she's so happy to tell them that she's in Troy, Ohio. But right out of college, after I graduated with my master's degree in environmental management and policy, I lived in this place called Margaretville, New York. It's in the Catskill Mountains. Actually serves as part of the New York City drinking water source. The Catskill Mountains are the source of the drinking water system for New York City, and it all flows by gravity. It's, again, another system that was built over 100 years ago, utilizing nature, utilizing our natural systems to support and sustain the life that we still have today. And Margaretville, New York is this, pretty little American town, and in the country, you got a river running through it, the Schoharie River, very beautiful. So again, I worked there, lived near there, right after getting my master's degree. Well, and of course it is upstate New York, it's the Catskills, and so this is December of 1995. I think there were, just buckets of snow that are falling and whatnot, and I think by the time that January 19th came along, there was actually like 45 inches of snow on the ground. And then the temperatures turned to about 60 degrees, 4.5 inches of rainfall happened. And that's actually not the road that I lived on, but it looked very much like that. And within 24 hours, downtown Margaretville, New York looked like this. And I bring this up because no one is alive anymore from the 1913 flood. We only have the stories, we have the memories, but this is happening in other places across the country, across Ohio and Kentucky, all over the place. And I think it's so important for us to always remember that this could be us, but it's not. It's not, because we have a very strong and very innovative state-of-the-art flood protection system that allows for us to have things like Riverway and riverfront developments and things like that. And so I just wanted to bring that back to folks' memory that this stuff happens, but it's not something that we need to dwell on here because of what we've done through the Miami Conservancy District. But I can't help but to again bring that up because again we are protecting from a river, but it is more than just a river, and we've been protecting the Miami Valley for over 100 years now. The system is in 101 years of operation. And it is in need of reinvestment. And again, so it's important for us to remember what the past was and how we utilize this system today all over the region. So again, it's more than just a flood protection system too. It's something that does provide multiple benefits for the region, for the enhanced quality of life of our communities. And here's a picture from the construction of the Lockington Dam from 1919. And again, you could see the walls of the concrete dam are in really good shape. We're actually just completed a wall of replacement of Lockington in 2020. We led a $4.1 million construction contract last month, so we're replacing another wall of the Lockington Dam. This is the most northern dam of the system. And the other dams are also in need of structural improvements. And again, these are needed to support the economic development that's happening up and down the river. So again, I wanted to just mention that because the system is built on, we have 55 miles of levees. A lot of the communities that we've been working with through, for the last 50 years, with the completion of the first mile in Troy, we now have over 99 miles of trails either on or along the Great Miami River on the backbone of the flood protection system. The Conservancy District manages about 35 miles of that, but we rely on the partners that we have around the room here to help maintain that as well. And so again, it's more than just a river, the trail being established, I think, in 1973, and we have so many great success stories of what it is. And it's also economic development opportunities. A river corridor can only provide that. We're so fortunate. Water has so many cleansing or, qualities, beautiful qualities that helps people really want to come together and think about how to make a place better. And so I want to also, as I mentioned, we're in the process of making improvements to our flood protection system. We will be talking more about that, and it's important for our core partners like you all to understand what the needs are, what the requirements are for us to ensure that we can continue to have the opportunities up and down the river. And there's exciting things, as Dan mentioned, what I want to do now is share with you, just kind of unveil, we put a little video together. First, it's only 90 seconds that we'll be taking to many of the communities, getting it out on social media. And I want to just offer also that I've been meeting with many different communities up and down the river, talking about some of our flood protection needs and whatnot. And I just want to offer to come to any communities to share more about what we have to do. But in order to help facilitate that discussion, we've developed this video.
In 1913, flooding devastated our region, lasting for days. Uncontrolled floodwaters rose 20 feet in some places, washing away homes and businesses. To ensure that threat never happens again, the Miami Conservancy District built a world-class flood protection system to safeguard you and your family from raging rivers. Today, Miami Conservancy District protects our communities of Southwest Ohio from flooding, preserves our water through environmental stewardship, and promotes the enjoyment and economic benefits of our beautiful waterways. For over 100 years, the Miami Conservancy District's system of dams, storage basins, and levees have worked together to provide a nearly unparalleled level of protection. The storage basins are an essential part of this system, designed to hold back floodwaters for days or even weeks and slowly releases that water, preventing communities downstream from being overwhelmed. To continue that mission, the Miami Conservancy District is planning for the next century. The system requires repair, reinvestment, and rehab to ensure our protection stays strong. While there is a persistent fear of flooding in other cities across the country, people in our region go about their lives hardly giving flooding a thought. The Miami Conservancy District is here to protect our growing communities and their ambitious plans for economic vitality along our beautiful riverways. We've met these challenges before. We're meeting them now and preparing to protect our great Miami River corridors and people for the future.
Okay, let me just get this. So again, I just wanted to, I thought that would be great to kind of share that. And also as I was kind of putting together my thoughts for today and thinking about, again, our hope is that we have a river and a corridor that our communities can grow and continue to develop around. And so I came across this quote from Edward Deeds, who was one of our first board of directors, and it was interesting that hope was actually in this quote. His hope is that the lessons learned in the harrowing days of the flood itself and the years that followed would never be forgotten, and that we can, for they teach more than just how to bridle angry waters. They provide at least one example of how men and women can accomplish what they can accomplish when they work together in unconquerable spirit towards a common goal. And I think that, as I think about the people who would be in the room 110 years ago after the Great Flood, I kind of feel like what we have today and what we have in the Riverway and up and down the corridor, that I kind of feel like this was the vision that they had, because of the investments that were done. And so again, I can't go the day without saying that we have to remember this. We have to remember, too, that we have to invest in it. And there'll be more information that we'll be sharing over the next year as we are doing a readjustment of our benefits and developing a new capital program to address the needs that we have. And with that, the next thing on the agenda here is that we would hear from some of the, or all of the mayors and some of the commissioners that have been part of the Riverway to share about some of the exciting stories that are happening along the Great Miami Riverway. So I'm going to share with you that video right now because, of course, it would take a long time to go through all of them individually. So we put this video together to make it a little bit more quicker, and let's see if I did that right. Maybe I did not. Here we go.
From Sydney to Hamilton, find your way on the Great Miami Riverway.
We're very proud to have the summit here this year. We're very proud of our city. We look forward to showing it off to everybody. I'm really excited to have people tour our parks. We have over 600 acres of parks in Sydney. In Toowoomba Park is over 250 acres. In Toowoomba Park last year, we had a new pavilion that was built, donated by a gentleman who grew up here in honor of his grandfather, called Binkley Pavilion. That is the stop right before you go up the hill to Big Rock. So if you're in Toowoomba Park, you would perhaps visit Big Rock. There's a lot of history there.
True, because families are struggling, and the fact that they can take their family down by the river and pile into a canoe and paddle and enjoy an afternoon looking at the beautiful views that the river offers. The other very simple, free way of doing something at the river would be to take a picnic lunch and enjoy the riverfront that way as well.
We are urban. I mean, we're the largest city in Butler County, the second largest city in the tri-state, but we got this vibe, we got this feel going on in our city right now. And it's thanks to our great city team, but also it's great because we realize the importance of the river. Instead of ignoring what the river has, let's put great places to go to for our citizens and for our visitors as well.
We have so many great projects going on in downtown Miamisburg right now. The Hutchins Station is just one of those, and it's our big golden egg. We know it's going to be a great thing, but we just don't know what yet. And you know, people are always ask me when. It's coming. I just say in the future. You know, it's a huge project like that doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a year. But it is going to happen, and it is going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to be statewide recognized.
Now we're to the point where you're going to see, starting this year, Main Street's going to be ripped up. It's going to be turned into a two-way street with all new streetscaping. We're developing into the riverfront. We're working with property acquisition and current property owners to make sure to protect their property rights, but at the same time, looking at how we're developing the riverfront. That's all been occurring, and now you're going to start seeing it this year.
I actually went from living on a farm to living on the river, and it is a wonderful lifestyle. It's a nice transition. So being able to repurpose these second and third floors and building new development is critical to the workforce development needs that we need in our county.
Dayton and our region for years have turned our back on the rivers, and that was because of the Great Flood. So think about that, 1913, all these years, and you can look at buildings downtown and they're not front facing to the river. And so several years ago, we said, let's change that. Not just the county, but we as a community said, what can we do to change that? So we're so excited, and it's not just in Montgomery County. You know, you can look at from Shelby County on down.
We need something to stimulate the city of West Carrollton, you know, and this is going to be the thing that's going to happen. We got the new exit 47 back 5-6 years ago, and we thought something would happen soon after that, but it didn't, mainly because Austin Road was developed, so we were kind of put on the back burner. So now things are moving forward, and we've got the development that the Roberts Plaza used to be at, and then with the river project, things are looking good.
So Middletown has a renewed focus on the revitalization of our historic downtown Middletown and creating a red carpet between the Great Miami Riverway and our downtown. We see increased recreation along our Riverway, especially with the signage. It has really helped people be able to find their way to the Great Miami Riverway. And then we've found that a lot of people are wanting to live closer to the riverfront and our downtown.
With the great float down the Miami River this summer, we had 114 participants, and they ranged with kayaks, canoes, rowboats, and what would happen is they would bring their boats up here to West Carrollton, drop them off, and then they would drive to Miamisburg, park in the municipal lot down there, get on a school bus, and ride back to West Carrollton, and they put their boats in the water and float to Miamisburg, and then when they got down there, they had supper, then they loaded their boats in their cars and went home. But it was a successful event, Not only did it benefit West Carrollton, but it benefited Miamisburg and the whole region. We had people from down in Cincinnati come up to participate in this.
The river is so close to our downtown that it just becomes a natural place for people to gather for events and activities. And it just brings people into the downtown, but when people are in downtown, it takes them to the river. Our tents, Float Troy, is such a huge part of it right now, that's been kind of the surprise of the last 5 years, is our tent program. We started that, and it's like you really don't know how it's going to go, and boy, it has just taken off. We have people come from all over the country to spend the night in our tents.
Another wonderful thing that happened last year in the city of Sydney owned the Ohio building, and that's been transferred to a development group, Woodard, and they are looking forward to renovating that facility in downtown Sydney, and we're very, very happy about that and excited about what that means. And again, another connection to the Riverway. It's not very far from downtown Sydney to the river. There's a lot of connection there, so we're excited about that.
We do have many developing residential communities, and we have many established communities. So there's a large variety of housing to choose from if you come into Trenton looking for a place to live. We do have a developing industrial park that has Shape Corporation, or Magnode, which is the oldest employer in the city of Trenton. Just recently finished a $40 million, 350,000 square foot capital investment in phase 2 of our industrial park. So we're excited to get that up and running and get them fully employed.
It's really exciting to see people bicycling between Middletown and Franklin. I see it every day I drive down the road, and now it's not that we're connected only by automobiles, but now people can actually use their own 2 legs to get from one city to another. And it's also the thought that we'll be connected to Hamilton in the future with the bike trail. I know it's a lot of work, a lot of money, and a lot of energy from a lot of people, but that connection is invaluable.
Several people have asked me, look, what's going to happen down at the riverfront? Well, right now we're working on a project called the Lock 9 project, and it's nearing completion. And that Lock 9 is located right in the center of our business district along the Great Miami River. And it also is a crossroads for the Ohio recreational trails, as well as the heart of our 8-mile linear bike path. It also is going to be evolving into what I would call a centerfold of our city, where we can offer all kinds of events, such as our 4th of July celebrations, and we do a fall harvest festival. We also will be able to offer all things recreational, and that takes you right back to the river and the water itself.
I think it's a catalyst. Everything is working off of each other. Not only, the river project, is important, but then the people that are going to go into the development across the street, it's important to them too. And then we also have condominiums and apartments going to be built along the river too.
With the addition of Semcor coming into town and the 1,200 jobs in their first phase, it has really driven the need for more residential housing. And we're very excited because there's a subdivision called Baroque that is on the north end of town that is brand new housing for sale that is being built right now as we speak. There's additional apartments being built and renovated. There's a lot of emphasis on redeveloping properties that have sort of fallen into disrepair. There's a lot of pride in that, and our community and our staff is working with owners to make sure that we give people homes.
If it wouldn't have been for the Great Miami River, the bike path, and the investments that building owners have put in downtown, that wouldn't have happened. I'm the mayor, but I also happen to own the building next door to Bullwinkle's. I just added on to it, put 2 new apartments with balconies that overlook the river. And so firsthand, I know what it's like to be a mayor, but I also know what it's like to really think about spending some money downtown, and do I do it or don't I do it? And everyone that owns a shop in Miamisburg or a building, they just have the greatest confidence that whatever monies they put back into the city, they're going to get back in feel-good rewards, and it's going to pay off.
It attracts a lot of people to our community, and it feeds our tourism. It feeds an absolute great place to live and raise your children. So it's part of that connectivity that is so viable to a good, vibrant, healthy community.
We have a lot of new housing developments going in Middletown. We have a very exciting development that we're working on the east end by the interstate. It's a multi-use sports complex, residential, entertainment, and hotel. And so it will complement Spooky Nook. Hopefully going to have some ice hockey rinks is the plan. So we will be bringing visitors in from around the country and around the world to that location. Probably going to bring some of them in to live and stay.
In our case, one thing that we have is the Spooky Nook at Champion Mill Sports Complex. That's 650,000 square feet of courts and turf, but it's also a business conference and a convention center. So we're getting people from all over the place coming to Spooky Nook now. That's one of the proud accomplishments that we have for 2022, going into a full year of 2023, where there's going to be thousands of people using that facility. Tens of thousands of people using that facility, not just for sports, but for weddings, for conventions, for statewide conventions. They're coming to Hamilton, Ohio for these statewide conventions, and they did not do that before. It's because we have a facility, Spooky Nook, which is an incredible facility for so many reasons.
The energy in downtown has really bloomed since we've had added restaurants downtown. We've had a new Italian restaurant open up, Tavolo's, which is a restaurant on the corner. It was renovated out of an old bank. We have a new coffee shop in downtown called Greenhouse Coffee. That's a wonderful place. It's always busy. We still have the Bridge Restaurant under new management, and they're expanding, which is fabulous, in downtown right across from the theater. And we have Emilio's, which is a wonderful restaurant in downtown. Great pizza. If you haven't been to Emilio's, you need to go to Emilio's. And the standard, of course, is the Spot Restaurant. You have to go to the Spot and have pop. I like their soup. Actually, there isn't anything on the menu I don't like. And then right across from there is the beautiful Louis Sullivan building. I mean, it's a gem.
The Troy Strawberry Festival is always the first full weekend in June, and last year, after COVID, we were back in full force with that, and it was an amazing, amazing weekend. We had GOBA visit Troy, the Great Ohio Bike Adventure. They were in Troy for 3 nights. They spent 3 nights in Troy, and that was an amazing event. We have in August, we have the Tour de Donut. The more donuts you eat, the better your time is on your race. So it's kind of a misnomer that donuts and biking goes together, but it's a huge event and it's a lot of fun.
Because it brings thousands of folks in to do this crazy thing called riding a bike and eating donuts and being competitive over it. So it is a great asset to the county, especially the city of Troy. The amount of folks that come into that for multiple days is fantastic. The amount of business that it generates is substantial for the economy.
The river is integral into not just the past, the present, but also the future of Middletown. We know that people want to be outdoors. They want to enjoy their environment. It's not just what's between the 4 walls that they live in. And so the Riverway is absolutely critical. It also just connects people, and connections with people, as we've realized during COVID, are absolutely critical to our mental health.
We feel that energy coming off the river. We're seeing more kayaks in the river. Of course, the tents bring people to the river, but we're seeing more kayaks and canoeing. We also are working on a removal of the low dam, which the intent is that it will bring more recreational opportunities. Right now, the low dam kind of restricts that. It'll change the river, bring it back to what it was originally, but we're looking forward to that. It will run clearer, run deeper, and we're looking to expand our rec trail on the south side of the river. So, which will bring just more opportunities for people to get out and explore.
We've got a beautiful bike trail and a bike path that we walk. The addition of the Robinson, Pat and Tom Robinson Reserve out on the north of Duke Park, we participate and walk on that multiple nights per week. So it's just a nice connectivity. We can go downtown and have a lovely meal at one of our local restaurants. And it's just a nice walkable downtown atmosphere.
So we'll actually have lights strung over top of Main Street, and it's going to be a really special environment. We have the food truck park downtown now, so we're kind of creating a new habit of going downtown to eat. We have always had a staple restaurant downtown that people were used to going to. We're now opening other restaurants. Now we have a food truck park to change those habits, to get people going downtown, because with all this new development downtown along the river, we're going to have a lot of major new restaurants, rooftop bars.
It's been great to see all the jurisdictions along the river really working together, and they call it the Riverway Coalition. And each jurisdiction has really taken an interest in it, whether it's through some funding or just being a part of the project. And it's exciting, and that I don't think would have happened without us as Southwest Ohio embracing the rivers.
We're seeing some reutilization of land as well. We have some developers that are looking at 2 lots. One is at the corner of Water Street and Spring. The other one is at the old Bennett Junior High lot. Both of these lots overlook the Great Miami River, and the developers are going to offer housing, and that will be in the form of townhouses or condominiums. These housing projects will overlook the beautiful river and will be within a couple of blocks of the downtown district.
We see a need and a want to live along the Riverway. Along with our younger generations moving into the community, our young professionals, they want to be on the river, so we're going to provide options.
You have 3 locations in Miami County on the Miami Riverway, where you can literally have breakfast, lunch, and dinner all within a 20-25 mile bike ride.
Trenton is transforming from a bedroom community to the younger generations that come in. They want amenities, and they want all the activities that you can have. So with the river being a kayaking destination, fishing destination, just a river sport destination, or water sport destination, they will look to us for affordable housing and for residents now.
Connecting our communities through the Riverway and actually through our Parks District and the bike path that we have in Sydney. We've taken the bike path in Sydney as far as we can, and Shelby County, I know, are working really hard to connect now Sydney to Piqua. And that'll be another example of how we work together. I think that all the communities want that connection, and I look forward to seeing that happen.
In fact, with the City of Hamilton, we kicked back into gear our Hamilton Middletown Task Force. And so I met with the mayor and vice mayor in Hamilton along with the council member. And every time we met, interestingly enough, we had a view of the Great Miami River. So in both of our cities, we know that those are the hot spots to go and enjoy each other and also find camaraderie in the Great Miami Riverway.
If it wasn't for the river, we wouldn't have what we have going on in Hamilton right now. We wouldn't, because there wouldn't be a former Champion paper mill, which has been repurposed into Spooky Nook at Champion Mill. Do we still make a lot of things in Hamilton? Yes, we do. But now some of those buildings that used to make things, some of them have been repurposed into destination locations. And Spooky Nook is just one example. but there are many, many other examples. But the common thread is, through our great times in Hamilton, Ohio, the river was important. And during a great time, which I think we're in right now in Hamilton, I know we're in a great time right now in Hamilton. The river's a big part of it as well.
Through the initiative that the Riverway is doing, the Riverway organization through the MCD, not only that you have a wonderful website, but also a great marketing program that is just not on a regional basis, but also a national basis that will attract folks to come to our community, possibly put down roots in the Miami Valley along the Riverway, and really enjoy what the good quality of life can entail.
I'm Dan Foley, Director of the Great Miami Riverway, inviting you to find your way on the Great Miami Riverway.